What is going on, players? And welcome back to Hungary for Success with me, FoggyPlays, on FM21. Today we're looking at the end of season review for the 9th season, and we're going to look at the transfers that we do up to the start of the new season, season 10. Ooh, we're almost a decade in charge of Dorogi Futball Club, and it's been quite a successful time. So if you have enjoyed this episode, or if you do want to enjoy this episode, should I say, then make sure to leave a like and subscribe. It makes massive difference to the channel. Any interaction is good interaction. Even if you want to say something really mean about me in the comments, I'll cry, but YouTube will be happy. So that'll be pretty sweet. So let's get into this video. So it is the end of season review for the 2028-29 season, aka season 9, in charge of Dorogi. And as you can see, we won the OTP Bank Liga and the Magyar Kupa for 4th year in a row that we've done the double. We didn't have as successful of a season in Europe, but someday we're going to win the Champions League. Could next year be that year? The new arrivals, we're just waiting for this screen to start working. There we go. So the signing of the season went to Fuskas, even though they complained about the fact that he was expensive. But now they're content, and they feel that we're paying too high wages for him. How much is he getting paid? 34,000 a week? Yeah, it's probably a little bit on the high side compared to what some of our other players are getting paid. But we did have, we did spend a little bit of cash money, but we did get wonder kids such as Luis Miguel Diaz, who didn't actually get too many games, which is, just one of those things. There's a lot of players here that you probably haven't even seen, but they're in somewhere. A lot of them went out on loan, but they were expecting in the Hungarian division for us to win the league, and we did. We had a 75% full stadium, spent a majority of the season not actually at our own stadium, so yeah, it's not great. Top goal scorer was Carlsberg, where he did actually top goal scorer for the entire division. They expected us to reach the third qualifying round of the Champions League. We made it to the group stage. Quite unfortunate to get knocked out. The Europa League, be competitive. We made it to the quarter final, and the Hungarian Cup was reached the final. We won the whole thing because we are amazing as a football club. Biggest win was in the first round of the Hungarian Cup against Manor, who had 2 players sent off. Match to remember was 7-1 against Kisvárda, where, again, fantastic. Our goal of the season was not the goal of the season for the... I suppose that was in the cup. Okay, fair enough. So our best goal was Savic against Vasas. Interesting. So the reputation's gone up. We're up to 3.5 star now, which is quite nice. Sponsorship is up just a smidge. Broadcast revenue is down a smidge, but that'll go up when we get our money from the Champions League and the Europa League, because they haven't finished yet. Corporate and hospitality has gone up a little bit. Competition prize money is down, but that'll go up when we get the competition prize money from the Champions League and the Europa League, again, as I said, because the season review doesn't take that money into account. Our match day commercial and retail has gone up just a slight bit as well. We've sold just over 7,500 shirts. Grodum, Carlsberg, Madeira, Fuskas and Zamorano as our main 5 players selling shirts. The overall best 11 has some interesting players in it. Perez was our first choice goalkeeper this year, did play the most games of anyone in our goalkeeping department, which I suppose it was fairly tight actually. I think Werner played 5 games less, and Matinga, is that his name? Our third choice goalkeeper, he played 5 games, so it kind of works out exactly perfectly. Bartek and Bordoy as our wing backs. Bordoy at one point did consider leaving, but then changed his mind. Bredo and Medina in centre defence, fair enough. It's that was the partnership we used the majority of the season. As you can see by the fact they played quite a significant number of games together. Medina did pick up a little bit of injuries this year. Zamorano and O'Neill in central midfield. Gilmar and Carlsberg as our wide men. Fuskas and Grodum as the strike force. Carlsberg had an absolute exceptional season. Not as good assist-wise, but still quite good indeed. Bartek had 12 assists and 2 goals. Pareto had 10. Zamorano, 12 assists. That's not too bad. Mark O'Neill scored an absolute worldly of a goal for his only goal of the season. But as you can see, I won the Hungarian Division 1 Manager of the Year. Carlsberg won Fans Player of the Year. Grodom won Young Player of the Season. Signing of the season went to Fuskas. Goal of the season went to Savic, as we saw. Top goal scorer went to Carlsberg with 42. Just one short of equaling the record set by Mandira quite a number of years ago now. Gilmer had the most assists. Carlsberg had 13 player of the matches and the highest average rating of 7.5. And Luis Miguel Diaz, 33 passes completed per 90. It's not too bad. But as I said, Carlsberg did win the Hungarian Player of the Year, the top goal scorer of the year, and Grodom won Young Player of the Year. So the records that have been broken are Carlsberg getting the most league goals by a player in a season, most goals by a player in a match. I think that those two equaled the previous record, which was set by Mandira last year, if I'm not mistaken. Fuskas, just shy of 11 million for our transfer fee. So it was a superb season. Sixth successive title to back up their pre-season credentials. We were, without a doubt, favourites to win the league. We were the best in the world, in Hungarian football terms at least. So that's quite good for us. So we have had 4 players brought into our overall Dream 11, or Best 11. Oriola is brought in the season he leaves. Savic, Barreto, and Bordet also make it in. So we have some players who've left and we know that they've gone to bigger and better things, maybe. Hud Wagner's gone to Oish Pest, where he's been first choice goalkeeper for a while. Hidalgo's gone to Parma, where he's been there or thereabouts as one of their first choice centre backs for quite a while. Didn't score any goals this year for them. That's going to be disappointing for him. Derek is off at Ferencvaros, again as a first choice centre back. Perelescu is back playing in Romania for Cluj, where again first choice right back. Oriola, how's he been getting on at Salzburg? He's played 12 times and scored 8 goals. That's pretty good. 17 appearances, 10 goals overall for Salzburg. Can't complain with that. Versace is off playing for Sparta Prague. He still is playing for Sparta Prague. And again, playing many games. I think Sparta Prague won the league this year, so he'll be pretty happy with that. Pushkish is still playing for Debrecen, but when I say playing, I mean that loosely. He's not made many appearances. I remember we signed him, and I was delighted. Ortiz, still playing in Ecuador. Hasn't moved clubs since he left us, and he's not had too many starts this year. Imagine he's still an important player, so they're still early in their season though. Gabriel was recently picked up by a second division team, and he's actually had a pretty decent season playing for our affiliate. And Fred Johnson is actually after retiring, which is disappointing. I was hoping he'd become a scout or a coach or something. I was going to bring him in, but alas, it was not to be. So we've already looked at season review. We've already looked at where our best players are, our best 11 is. The expected goals, we got 118 actual. Expected was 91, we'll say. Expected points was 74. We got 90. We were expected to win the league with that, and we did. So for next season, I wanted to play direct, counter-attacking, entertaining football, which is also attacking. So counter-attacking, attacking football, but I also want to be entertaining and direct. Okay. Make the most of set pieces. Work within the wage budget, which we always do. Spend the original transfer budget, which they were quite happy with last season, because I showed that I wanted to try and spend it, but we kind of couldn't. And they want us to build a new stadium within the next 5 years. That's quite interesting, because I actually asked them to build a new stadium recently, and they never got back to me. But they want us to win the division again this year and reach the group stage of the Champions League, which I am on board with. So they're finally starting to push for more Champions League things. Come back rested and we're going to do it again. That's exactly the direction I was after. We're going to pump our fists and say competition proper. That's what they want. Yeah. Discuss some promises. Outstretched arms. Youth. Everyone loves that. That's all the promises I'm going to do for now. Yep. And we'll sort all that out when they come back from their holidays. Don't care about this. Fleck missed 60% of the season. They're going to be back on my birthday from their holidays. That's fine. As you can see, Ferver, who actually sacked their manager after the game, they did not have a great season. I'm trying to get rid of Stepanenko, and that's not gone according to plan as of yet. But like I said, some clubs have already parted ways with their management. Ferver being one of them. Boris at MTK is also on the chopping block. He is favourite to get sacked next, so I wouldn't be surprised if he did just take the Ferver job, because it just means that he's not going to lose his actual. He's not going to get fired. He's just going to, you know. I meant to go to this one. We're untouchable. Fantastic. Yeah, he's like he was. No, he was insecure a while ago. Literally changed since the cup final. Yeah, there's a couple of players or a couple of managers who are on the verge of getting sacked as well, but we are not one of them. We are untouchable. To be fair, been here 10 years, or this is our 10th season. If we don't have like the absolute untouchable, like we will never get sacked kind of situation, I would be quite disappointed, because we have done so much for this club. But yeah, it's hopefully the season ticket holders go up as well. For next season, I think we do need to probably push on a little bit in the Champions League. Maybe make it into the knockout stages. Maybe win the Europa League. You know, if we can't get that far. But yeah, that is the plan for now. And as I said in the last episode, we have 2 players already agreed to sign for us. A new central midfielder and a new attacking midfielder who is definitely going to be a central midfielder when he arrives. He's pretty decent, but I think it's going to be a season of some change. Not a huge amount, I would imagine, but I've said that before, and then brought in 30 or 40 players. Like, I think this year we sold, or we had 60 players leave, either on loan or permanently. Don't really want to be doing that again next season. So we're going to be back in just a second to have a look at the transfers that have happened up to the point where we start our league season or the first Champions League game, depending on how they fall this time. So don't go anywhere. Should be an interesting one. I feel like we're going to get a pretty decent team because it's the third round. Generally speaking, good teams are in the third round. I have to wait and see what happens. Right, fellas, so the first game of the season is upon us. We have arrived, so that can only mean one thing. We're going to be looking at the transfers that we've done to this point. We're going to be taking on Uj Pest to start the season in tomorrow's episode, and we're going to have the second leg against Shekdengia from Macedonia. Shekengia. Yep. That's exactly how it's pronounced. Don't question it. As you can see, very good pre-season. Played against some quite big teams as well. Juventus, Bournemouth, Osasuna and Manchester United. We did, however, have quite a difficult, shall we say, time dealing with some clubs in particular. But we have acquired quite a substantial amount of money in the overall balance. We've just over 110 million. We've 77.75 million transfer budget to spend, and we've about 300,000 in, actually just a little bit over 300,000 wage budget. So we've done quite well. Well, we sold quite a substantial amount of money, or substantial amount of players. We do have some offers currently in for, actually we have one offer in currently for a goalkeeper, Yardel Gonzalez, who is a Peruvian international. I think he's a Peruvian first choice goalkeeper. Pretty sure he is. I haven't actually checked, but I would imagine he is. And we're still waiting on Anis Ben Said to arrive in January. So that'll be an interesting time when he joins us, when he turns, I think it's because he's not 18 till around then. Yeah, it's because he's not turning 18 yet. So it'll be interesting to see how he gets on. If we do get Jardel, I'm going to be quite happy because he looks a pretty decent goalkeeper. Kind of all round, pretty good. I don't think he's the best goalkeeper we had in this save to this point, but we do have some players that are frustrated, shall we say. So as it is right now, Tinoco is off to the club that's been causing us all sorts of problems. Arsenal have put a £1.6 million offer in for him. Arsenal have disrupted our summer. Something fierce. Kasani is actually a player that you haven't met yet. Kalmar has gone back out on loan, but to Ujpest, so he won't be making his Ujpest debut on the first day of the season because they're playing against us, and teams playing against us can't play our players against us. So as you can see, we spent 9 million, sold 55 million. Not bad at all. Martin Bieder is one of the players that has come in. He came from Leicester. As I said, he was a player that was in my Hungarian team, in my Hungarian plans. He's come into the team. Potential ability, not really good enough to play for us, but he is potentially off on loan with one of the other top division sides. So can't really complain about that. Eric Cassiani is a Colombian who wants to be a defensive midfielder. We want him to be a central defender. I think he's a pretty fruity looking centre back, but we don't have room in our squad for him. So paid 1.5. I think it was his release clause, if I'm not mistaken. So he is looking like he's going off on loan as well. Imre Lazar is one of my favourite Hungarian players at the moment. I had to sign him, regardless of how much he cost, from Debrecen. He's been playing, as you can see, 4 games, scored 3 goals for us recently. He is a worldie since he broke into the Hungarian national team. This guy had to buy him. So I paid a little bit over the odds for him. 2.7 up front. I think potentially going to 3.2. Potentially going to 3.2. Mario Zigri is a guy we've been chasing for a couple of seasons. Like, I've been keeping an eye on him more than anything. Not the most clinical of goal scorers for Dinamo in their first team. Second team was pretty decent. He came to us, but we agreed to loan him out when he arrived. So we're paying him 9.5 thousand a week. He's gone on loan to Osijek, who are paying the majority of that, and then they're paying monthly fee on top of it. So we've made just a smidgen of money. 3.3 million was his release clause. Again, a player that I think potentially could be good. Alberto Practico came in, had he came up in a scout report. Looked pretty decent. Brought him in on trial, and I was like, hey, he'd be handy to have in the B team. So that's where he is at the moment. But he does actually have interest from recently promoted ZTE. So we'll see how he gets on if he does join them. Came from Juventus, so it can't be the worst player in the world. Robert Simon has gone to Debrecen on a permanent contract, 950,000 after having 3 fantastic seasons for Debrecen. As you can see, still playing him in the Hungarian national team. He's one of our, I'd say, top 6 strikers. So he's played 85 league games, 57 goals for Debrecen. He's going to get plenty of game time there. Hopefully, he does really rather well. Milan Werner has eventually left us for, I think it's potentially 13 million plus sell-on clauses, 13.5 million. Just wasn't happy at the club anymore. We barely played him last season because he was unhappy. Well, I'd say that 26 games. But I suppose he played 43 the season before and 49 the season before that. So for the 2 seasons he was first choice, smashed it out of the park. It was amazing. Last season, threw a strop for the majority of the season. So he has left us. Not ideal. He has regressed as a player, shall we say. A lot of the numbers that he had at the start of last season no longer as high as they used to be. So whatever. Bartek also threw a strop because he wanted to leave because Arsenal came calling. As you can see, went to Shanghai Shenhua because that's what our players seem to do. They throw a strop out someone wanting to sign them, and then they move to a completely different club. So he went for 5 million. Martinelli and Zigri both went down on loan. Zamorano had an offer from, I don't think it was Arsenal. I think it was a different English club. I can't remember now which one it was. They offered like 6 million for him. I said no. Then Shanghai Shenhua came in and offered 20 million all in, like with everything included, plus a sell-on. So we accepted it because that's pretty good money for him. Since he went there, he's now valued at 24 million, which is just insane. Malik Bassett at centre back, we never actually played. We signed like 3 years ago, I think it is now. He was signed back in the 26-27 season. Never gave him a game. Yep, I never started him. He played 1 game for the B team, scored a goal, but just spent the majority of his time in the Czech Republic on loan, has now gone back to Victor Pulsen for 1.2 million. Basically, what we paid for him. He has to play a certain amount of games or something to get that 1.2 million. I don't remember. Arua has left us as well for just a smidge under what we paid for him, but he's gone back to Argentina for probably forever. He's never going to come back to Europe, I would imagine, because that's generally what happens when a player leaves our club, is they don't come back to Europe after that. Stepanenko, another player that has gone to Shanghai Shenhua. They've spent so much money on our players. He got annoyed because we rejected an offer from Shakhtar Donetsk. Shakhtar came back in with a £6.5 million offer. We accepted it. He was delighted. Shanghai Shenhua came in, offered $6.5 million, and he was like, I'm going to go to Shakhtar. And then signed for Shanghai Shenhua, because that's just what he does. That's just what these players do. China comes along and they're like, hey, do you want to play for us? And they're like, yeah. And I think he took a pay cut actually to go to China, which is interesting. It's not normally how it works, but fair enough. Kevin McKenzie wanted to leave, so he went back to Kilmarnock, or did he came from Celtic? So he's gone back to Scotland, and he started off his career quite well there. As you can see, Mandira has unfortunately left us for 7.75 million, with 5.75 million, with a bunch of clauses. If he plays a certain amount of games, scores goals, all that good stuff. 1 appearance, 1 goal so far for them. I'm a fan of Angers. I managed them in the Director of Football Journeyman series I did earlier in the year, so I wasn't going to say no to them. Other noteworthy transfers: Nedlichev has gone to Ferencváros for just shy of what we paid for him. It was never good enough, to be fair. Yuri Vlek has left us as well, so we've sold 2 big two big right backs. As you can see, our captain last season played 8 games in the entire season, did miss quite a substantial amount of time, but we got quite a significant amount of profit off of him. 52,000 for him to arrive, 5.25 million for him to leave. I'll take that. He never really got back into the form or the ability that he had before that injury. Lewis Kekarish was actually going to be our starting right back this year. As you can see, he's playing for Porto now. They offered they offered us 200,000. I rejected it. Came to me and said, I want to leave because Porto want to buy me. They offered 1.7 million afterwards, and then again, one of those ones where it's like, if he plays a certain amount of games, I think we get something, and then if he gets sold for a profit, we get like 40% or something. Felusi wanted to jump ship as well. He's actually progressed really quite well while he was away at Honved. He wasn't happy when he came back because he wanted to go to Honved. Honved came in and offered a contract to him, and he went to Depression because, again, footballers, just wherever the money is, they will go. Benjig left, but it's not an important one. Haller's gone out on loan again. Carvalho, player who I signed 3 years ago, I think, he left for a third of what we paid for him. Adnan Abai left for, somehow we made a profit on this guy. When he signed here, he looked pretty good. He spent all this time out on loan, came back and he looked absolutely useless, and Depression paid 600,000 for him. So we made a profit on a guy we never actually played. I'm happy with that. I can live with that. Tapa has gone back out on loan this season, but it's different in Ferencváros, which I think that shows where they are in the world of football at the moment. And Daniel Kalmar has gone to Oish Pest. I don't think there was anything else happened at the end of last season. No, you know about Mayer arriving. He was the last one. It's Kubista. I think I told you about this at the end of the last episode. He's gone to Monterrey for 2.3 million after throwing a strop, but not want to be here anymore. So we're going to have a look at some of the players that are after throwing big boy strops. Savic came to me because Arsenal, Shanghai, and some other Chinese club, I think they're still in for him. Chengqing, they all offered like 600,000 for him. He threw a strop, wanted to leave, so I was like, grand, no matter. Offered him out, and then he was like, oh, unhappy being touted to other clubs for transfer, feels unfairly pressured to find a new club, has been treated unfairly by the manager too many times. This man, just this man. I've transfer listed him since he started all this, and nobody wants him. So, but I was hoping to get like 15, 20 million from him. I was like, oh, we get an easy like 20 million for this guy. I'd be lucky if we get 7 at this stage, I think. And Tinoco, because he accepted, or because he came to me and said he wanted to leave, and Inter and Arsenal were offering contracts to him, I didn't bother registering him because he's going to be leaving. So I didn't bother registering him for the league. And then he was like, "Why didn't you include me in the league squad? Because we have 25 slots and they're literally all full, and we have some players that aren't even going to make it into our 25-man squad. So unfortunately, you won't be one of those who's getting in. Like Awad, who I intended on actually giving first team football to this year, doesn't make it in. Our third choice goalkeeper Pataki does not make it in. Kasani isn't there because he's going out on loan. And Tinoco, because he's leaving as well. So we've got a little bit of interesting things going on so far this year. But for the first game of the season, this is how we're going to be lining up. Not a huge amount of change from last season in the starting 11, that is. Perez is going to continue in goal for us. Thorson and Mayer are going to be our wingbacks. Neary is back from his loan at Honved, where he played quite well. And he's progressed again quite nicely. He's got a powerful centre back as his media description now, so that's nice. Kwasi and O'Neill are going to be our central midfield. Gilmer and Mary are going to be starting as our wingers. Grodem and Fuskas starting up front. More so because Carlsberg is just a little bit tired and a little bit injured, so he's going to be sitting the first game of the season out, but he will definitely be making his appearances at some point. Speaking of players that had offers from Arsenal for them, Kjell Arne Johansson, Arsenal came in and offered 1.2 million for him. I rejected it. He came to me and said he wants to play for Arsenal. Arsenal have not shown any interest in him since. So thank you very much, Arsenal. You are assholes. So that is where we're going to leave it. The next episode, like I said, will be against Ujpest and the second leg of our Champions League third qualifying round, second leg game against Shenjika, this football team. So if you have enjoyed this one, do make sure to leave a like, comment, subscribe, share with all your friends, and I will see you in the next one.